The Lipulekh Pass, a Himalayan border pass located at 17,000 feet near the tri-junction of India, Nepal and China, has once again become a flashpoint in India-Nepal relations. Hello and welcome to The Print. My name is Debdutta and today we discuss why border trade resumption between India and China across the Lipulekh has irked Nepal. Now, tensions flared on Wednesday between India and Nepal following a joint announcement by New Delhi and Beijing to resume border trade through Lipulekh, Shipki, which is in Himachal Pradesh, and Nathu, which is in Sikkim. These passes were previously closed during the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent 2020 India-China tensions. Both sides on Tuesday agreed to reopen border trade through the three designated trading points during the 24th round of the Special Representatives Dialogue on the boundary issues between India and China in New Delhi. In its statement, the Foreign Ministry asserted that Lipulekh, along with Kalapani and Limpiadhura, lies east of the Kali River and is therefore Nepalese territory as defined by the 1816 Treaty of Suggali with the British East India Company. The ministry in its statement said, and I quote, "The official map of Nepal incorporated into the constitution clearly shows Limpiadhura, Lipulekh and Kalapani as integral parts of our country." It further noted that both India and China had been informed of Nepal's position and had urged against any activities such as road construction or trade in the disputed area. India, however, rejected Nepal's objections and said that any unilateral artificial enlargement of territorial claims is untenable. India maintains that the region has been under its administrative control for decades and that border trade with China through Lipulekh dates back to 1954. The disagreement, while not new, has resurfaced at a sensitive time. This diplomatic row comes days after the Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri visited Nepal to revive bilateral ties, and this is weeks before Nepali Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is expected to visit New Delhi on the 16th of September. Now, this is significant because it is his first visit since returning to office in 2024, and Oli has already visited China twice in the same time frame and will also visit China for the upcoming SCO Head of State Summit later this month. But before we get into the details, let's begin with some historical context first. So, the current tensions trace back to 2019 when India published a new political map showing Kalapani, where Lipulekh is located within the Indian territory post the abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir. Nepal strongly objected, asserting that the entire Kalapani, Limpiadhura and Lipulekh area lies east of the Kali River and therefore belongs to Nepal as mentioned under the 1816 Treaty of Suggali. The core disagreement lies in the origin point of the Kali River. Nepal claims that the river originates near Limpiadhura, which places the disputed areas firmly within its territory. India, however, identifies Kalapani as the river's source and supports its claim and long-standing administrative control of the region. India, on its part, has maintained a military and logistical presence in the Kalapani region since the 1962 India-China War and has expanded road infrastructure in recent years. In 2020, India inaugurated a new road from Dharchula in Uttarakhand to Lipulekh, significantly shortening the travel time for Hindu pilgrims visiting the sacred Mount Kailash in Tibet. Nepal responded by amending its constitution to release a new political map, which then incorporated Kalapani, Lipulekh and Limpiadhura within its national boundaries. Tensions escalated further when Nepal's Defence Minister Ishwar Pokhrel in 2020 accused the then Indian Army Chief Manoj Naravane of making disrespectful remarks about Nepal. Now, Naravane had commented suggesting that Nepal's strong objection to India's new road project in Uttarakhand were being made at the behest of someone else, which was seen as a thinly veiled reference to China. In response, Pokhrel then had said that the remarks were insulting and had disregarded Nepal's history, sovereignty and unique socio-cultural ties with India. He also said that the statement hurt the sentiments of Nepali Gorkha soldiers who served in the Indian Army. Now, the roots of this dispute trace back to the 1816 Treaty of Suggali, which has been mentioned a lot of times now, and that treaty had established that the Kali River was the western boundary of Nepal. This treaty, however, did not clearly identify the river's origin, and British era maps have shown inconsistencies with various cartographic representations supporting both Indian and Nepali claims. Now, India has maintained control over the region since independence, and Nepal's objections have only gained prominence in recent decades, particularly following democratic reforms that amplified nationalist narratives in the country. Nepal, on its part, has raised objections on this border issue for as far back as 2015, when India and China agreed to designate Lipulekh as a bilateral trade route during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's official visit to Beijing at that time. Then, Nepal's foreign ministry had sent diplomatic notes to both the countries and had protested the move being made without Nepal's consultation or consent. But despite Nepal's objections, historical records do indicate that India and China have used the Lipulekh Pass for decades for trade purposes. As far as 29th April 1954, that is when the two countries signed an agreement allowing pilgrims and traders to use several Himalayan passes, including Shipki, Mana, Niti, Kungri, Bingri, Dharma and Lipulekh, without involving Kathmandu. Now, this controversy dates as far back as to 1991, when India and China agreed to resume border trade and then designated Lipulekh as a key entry-exit point. The agreement said, and I quote, "with the view of facilitating the visits of persons engaged in border trade and exchange of commodities and means of transportation, India and China have decided that Lipulekh, which the Chinese call Kingla, has to be the border pass for the entrance and exit of the said persons, commodities and means of transportation of the two sides." Now, this was formalized through protocols in 1992 and again in 2005, 2014 and 15 with agreements that covered trade, pilgrimages and border cooperation. In all these instances, Nepal has lodged diplomatic protests with both embassies of India and China in Kathmandu. Now, where is China in all of this? So, Lipulekh holds deep religious, strategic and geopolitical importance. For India, it provides a crucial land route to the Kailash Mansarovar shrine in Tibet and also serves as a vital strategic corridor for troop and supply movement along the Himalayan frontier. The pass provides a vital land connection to Tibet and plays a key role in India's border management and troop mobility along the sensitive line of actual control with China. The reopening of trade through Lipulekh reflects a massive thaw in India-China relations, which have been strained since the 2020 Galwan clashes. Resuming economic exchanges through the pass could help restore pre-2020 commercial activity, which was once valued in billions. Now, China. While China is a stakeholder in the resumption of trade through Lipulekh, it has remained neutral on the territorial dispute and has treated it as a bilateral issue between India and Nepal. Beijing now benefits from trade across the Himalayan passes, but has always avoided directly commenting on Nepal's claims, even though Nepal asserts that it has raised the matter with Chinese officials. For Nepal, this is a significant issue because Lipulekh is now a symbol of sovereignty and national pride. Nepal views that the India-China trade agreement through Lipulekh can be a direct challenge to its territorial claims and argues that any bilateral activity in the disputed area without the country's consent undermines its sovereignty and could prejudice future negotiations. Both India and Nepal have expressed willingness to resolve the issue through diplomatic dialogue, but boundary talks have been stalled since 2020. And there are also strong domestic pressures at play in Nepal because territorial sovereignty is a highly sensitive issue within Nepalese politics. Successive governments since 2020 have faced public and political pressure to assert Nepal's claims over the region, and many in Kathmandu fear that sustained trade and infrastructure development could further entrench India's de facto control over the area. Former Nepalese Prime Minister Baburam Bhattarai wrote on Twitter that India and China now reaching an agreement to resume trade through the Lipulekh Pass without consulting Nepal is a matter of serious concern for Nepal's national interest. For the broader region, the dispute underscores the complex interplay between history, geography, and contemporary geopolitics in the Himalayan frontier, which is now being shaped increasingly by the evolving dynamics between India and China. Thank you for tuning in. This is Debdutta for ThePrint. Keep watching for more such videos.